Hi everybody, this is Shannon. This is No Shelf Control, and I'm so glad you joined me tonight. I have been talking to you about the Aardvark Book Club book box and the special promotion code that I have that will allow you to pick one book for your Aardvark book box if you sign up and only pay $4 for it. You can also add 2 additional books to the box for $9.99 each, so it is a great deal. My promo code is No Shelf Control, one word, No Shelf Control, or you can click on the link that is in the description for the video. But I had shown you what came for me in my April Aardvark book box. And what I wanted to do before it gets too late in May is show you what the options are for new books in May, so that you'll have some idea what you could possibly choose if you were to choose an Aardvark book box in May. So there are 5 new books, and I want to talk to you about all of them. The first one is called The Perfect Ones by Nicole Hackett. It is a thriller, a debut, and a mystery, and it is 261 pages. Here's what Aardvark says about The Perfect Ones. A picture-perfect trip goes horribly wrong in this fast-paced exploration of friendship and the dark side of social media. Perfect for fans of Lucy Foley and Andrea Bartz. Everyone wants to be them, but internet fame comes at a price. 2 days after arriving in Iceland for a promotional trip, Instagram influencer Alabama Wood goes missing. With no leads, the Icelandic police start their investigation by focusing on the 2 influencers seemingly closest to Alabama on the trip. Celeste Reed, Alabama's best friend of 10 years, and Holly Goodwin, fitness guru and Alabama's unwilling idol. Celeste and Alabama have grown apart recently because Celeste has been too distracted by her 5-year-old's behavioral issues and her husband's refusal to admit that there's a problem. What Celeste doesn't tell them is how she has been coping with these worries and how it involves Alabama in ways no one would guess. On the outside, Holly appears to have everything: the husband, the body, and over 1 million Instagram followers. In reality, however, Holly came to Iceland to escape the implosion of her life behind the screen. The only person who suspected something amiss behind Holly's precisely filtered pictures is Alabama. As secrets are revealed and loyalties are tested, debut author Nicole Hackett asks, do we control our online image, or does it control us? So I can't wait to read this. I think it might be the one that I pick for this box. We will see. You might hear me say that again, in which case I might be adding the 2 extra books to my box for $9.99 each. But really interested in the idea that, a social media presence has led to this woman disappearing, and that she has these 2 other people, one a friend and one an idol, and how social media impacts their relationships and what it has to do with this woman going missing. So I am certainly not internet famous, but I do have some idea what it's like to filter and cull your image online, both my Facebook image that I put forward for friends and family, and my image here on the YouTube channel. I try to be as open and honest as I possibly can, but I certainly do my makeup every time I'm going to come here. I don't come here fresh out of bed with my hair sticking up and no makeup on. So there's certainly some filtering of the image that happens if you're trying to have an online presence. So really interested in that, just because I feel like it's somewhat relatable to my life. So the next one on the list is This Bird Has Flown. Now, we talked about this one several weeks back. This is the one by Susanna Hoffs, the singer from the Go-Go's. And it was on my list of newly published books that I was interested in, but it is also one of the books that is coming out in May that you can choose for your Aardvark book box for $4. So This Bird Has Flown is contemporary fiction. It's a debut. It's a romance. It's movie and TV coming, and includes a cat. So it is going to be on television, and it includes a cat, which is apparently very important for readers of Aardvark book boxes to know. So it is 352 pages. Here is the Aardvark synopsis of This Bird Has Flown. A delightfully funny and steamy debut novel about music, Fate, Redemption, and Love from beloved songwriter and Bangles co-founder Susanna Hoffs that is part British rom-com, part Jane Eyre, and 100% enjoyable by Tom Perrotta. Did I say the Go-Go's? This is by Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles, of course, but I totally messed that up. So Susanna Hoffs is not from the Go-Go's, she is from the Bangles. So that was the blurb from Tom Perrotta about This Bird Has Flown. The synopsis says this: Jane Start is 33, broke, and recently single. 10 years prior, she had a hit song, written by world-famous superstar Jonesy, but Jane hasn't had a breakout since. Now she's living out of 4 garbage bags at her parents' house, reduced to performing karaoke tracks in Las Vegas. Rock bottom. But when her longtime manager Pippa sends Jane to London to regroup, she's seated next to an intriguing stranger on the flight, the author Tom Hardy, an elegantly handsome Oxford professor of literature. Jane is instantly smitten by Tom and soon truly inspired. But it's not Jane's past alone that haunts her second chance at stardom and at love. Is Tom all that he seems? And can Jane emerge from the shadow of Jonesy's earlier hit and into the light of her own? It turns deeply sexy, riotously funny, and utterly joyful. This Bird Has Flown explores love, passion, and the ghosts of our past, and offers a glimpse inside the music business that could only come from the beloved songwriter Susanna Hoffs. So, I love a little glimpse behind the scenes. So a look into the music business by Susanna Hoffs, who certainly has that little glimpse behind the scenes, is exciting to me. I also love the idea that it's described as sexy and steamy. I am not opposed to a little bit of open door romance. So if that is something that troubles you, if you need closed door romance, I might skip this one. I can't say for sure that it's open door, but that they use the word sexy and steamy makes me think it's probably higher up there on the open door list. For those of you who don't know the difference between open door and closed door romance, it's exactly what it sounds like. In a closed door romance, you get that where the author writes, they go into the room, the door shuts, and you know what happened behind the door, but you don't hear about it. Open door romance, you get all the details of what's happening there in the bedroom. So those are the differences between open and closed door romance. I'm not opposed to either one if they're done well, but it might be something worth knowing about This Bird Has Flown. Okay, let's see. The very next one is called An American Beauty by Shana Abe. And this is a romance and it's historical fiction, and it's 368 pages. Amidst the opulent glamour and vicious social circles of Gilded Age New York, this stunning biographical historical novel by the New York Times best-selling author of The Second Mrs. Astor conjures the true rags-to-riches story of Arabella Huntington, a woman whose great beauty was surpassed only by her exceptional business acumen, grit, and artistic eye, and who defied the constraints of her era to become the wealthiest self-made woman in America. 1867, Richmond, Virginia. Though she wears the same low-cut purple gown that is the uniform of all the girls who work at Worsham's gambling parlor, Arabella stands apart. It's not merely her statuesque beauty and practiced charm. Even at 17, Arabella possesses an unyielding grit and a resolve to escape her background of struggle and poverty. Collis Huntington, railroad baron and self-made multi-millionaire, is drawn to Arabella from their first meeting. Collis is married and 30 years her senior, yet they are well matched in temperament, and flirtation rapidly escalates into an affair. With Collis's help, Arabella eventually moves to New York, posing as a genteel, well-to-do Southern widow. Using Collis's seed money and her own shrewd investing instincts, she begins to amass a fortune. Their relationship is an open secret, and no one is surprised when Collis marries Arabella after his wife's death. But the 400, the elite circle that includes the Astors and Vanderbilts, have their rules. Arabella must earn her place in society, not just through her vast wealth, but with taste, style, and impeccable behavior. There are some who suspect the scandalous truth and will blackmail her for it. And then there is another threat, an unexpected, impossible romance that will test her ambition, her loyalties, and her heart. An American Beauty brings to vivid life the glitter and drama of a captivating chapter in history, and a remarkable woman who lived by her own rules. So I like that. I love the idea that this woman is scrabbling her way to the top of New York City high society from a background of nothing, where she was a, bar girl in a gambling parlor. I love the idea that she's trying to fool them all and become genteel and proper. And I love the idea that there's a mystery here, that something is going to come about that's going to threaten all of it for her. I also love that this is, in the backdrop of history, that, this is real. This is a story of a real person surrounded by other historical characters like the Astors and the Vanderbilts, and that we get to see some of that. So 1867, New York City, very interesting. I know very little about that time. And then this woman, Arabella Huntington, who is real and will be fictionalized in this historical fiction book. So that is another choice that you could make for your Aardvark book box this month. Now remember, with the Aardvark book box, you can also choose books that you haven't chosen yet from other months. So if there are other months' books still on the list, you're welcome to choose any of those. It doesn't have to be a May book. So if there's nothing here that really appeals to you, you can look at the lists from other months and make a choice from one of those as well. The next one in May, however, is called Chain Gang All-Stars. And we have talked a little bit about that one in the past. This is by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. It is sci-fi. It is LGBTQ+. It's considered literary fiction, and it's a debut, and it's 359 pages. And I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis again, because I believe that it is a little different here in the Aardvark book box than it was on Amazon. So here's what we've got. A most anticipated book of the year. 2 top women gladiators fight for their freedom within a depraved private prison system, not so far removed from America's own, in this explosive, hotly anticipated debut novel from the New York Times best-selling author of Friday Black. Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stacker are the stars of Chain Gang All-Stars, the cornerstone of CAPE, or Criminal Action Penal Entertainment, a highly popular, highly controversial, profit-raising program in America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, their freedom. In CAPE, prisoners travel as links in chain gangs, competing in death matches for packed arenas with righteous protesters at the gates. Thurwar and Stax, both teammates and lovers, are the fan favorites, and if all goes well, Thurwar will be free in just a few matches, a fact she carries as heavily as her lethal hammer. As she prepares to leave her fellow links, she considers how she might help preserve their humanity in defiance of these so-called games. But CAPE's corporate owners will stop at nothing to protect their status quo, and the obstacles they lay in Thurwar's path have devastating consequences. Moving from the links in the field to the protesters, to the CAPE employees and beyond, Chain Gang All-Stars is a kaleidoscopic, excoriating look at the American prison system's unholy alliance of systemic racism, unchecked capitalism, and mass incarceration, and a clear-eyed reckoning with what freedom in this country really means from a new and necessary American voice. And that quote is from Tommy Orange in the New York Times book review. And Tommy Orange is the one who wrote There, There, which I really liked. So I'm excited that he's excited. This is an interesting premise to me. I'm really intrigued by the systemic racism, by the private prison system, and what that says about our current existing penal system in the United States. I'm maybe not as excited about the Chain Gang All-Stars part of it, the part where they are women gladiators who are fighting for their freedom. That's not necessarily my shtick. But I know that it will definitely appeal to some of you. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this book again. So that is Chain Gang All-Stars. And that is the 4th book in the new list of books in the Aardvark book box. The last one is Swamp Story by Dave Barry. And we've talked about this one too. It is humor and contemporary fiction. It is 304 pages. Pulitzer Prize winning New York Times bestselling author and actual Florida man Dave Barry returns with a Florida caper full of oddballs and more twists and turns than a snake slithering away from a gator. Jessie Braddock is trapped in a tiny cabin deep in the Everglades with her infant daughter and her ex-boyfriend, a wannabe reality TV star who turned out to be a lot prettier on the outside than on the inside. Broke and desperate for a way out, Jessie stumbles across a long-lost treasure, which could solve all her problems if she can figure out how to keep it. The problem is, some very bad men are also looking for the treasure, and they know Jessie has it. Meanwhile, Ken Bortle of Bortle Brothers Bait and Beer has hatched a scheme to lure tourists to his failing store by making viral videos of the Everglades melon monster. The monster is in fact an unemployed alcoholic newspaperman named Phil wearing a Dora the Explorer costume head. Incredibly, this plan actually works, inspiring a horde of TikTokers to swarm into the swamp in search of the monster. At the same time, villains are on the hunt for Jessie's treasure. Amid this mayhem, a presidential hopeful arrives in the Everglades to start his campaign. Needless to say, it does not go as planned. In fact, nothing in this story goes as planned. This is, after all, Florida. So the Florida man premise, I assume that you know that if you type in Florida man and your birth date, you will get a crazy story of something that happened to a man in Florida, because there are always headlines that start with Florida man does something bizarre. And this is sort of what this book is based on, the swamp story of a Florida man who is bringing the Everglades melon monster to his community and luring in TikTokers. But also the story of Jessie Braddock, who's found something that is going to change her life if she can just keep it from the people who are trying to take it from her. 5 really cool books this month that you could choose for your Aardvark book box. We've got The Perfect Ones, This Bird Has Flown, An American Beauty, Swamp Story, and Chain Gang All-Stars, some of which we've talked about before, so I think they're exciting because they were on my lists of books that were coming out. But they also happen to show up in the Aardvark book box selections, so you can actually pick one for $4. Just wanted to let you know what was available in the Aardvark book box for May. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe. Please remember that I do have a code called No Shelf Control, one word, through which you can sign up for an Aardvark book box and get your first book for $4. I hope you will come back and join me as I do more single book reviews, more book of the month box books, more bookstore tours, and a whole bunch of releases that I think are too good to miss. So I hope you will continue to watch my videos, and I will look forward to talking all things bookish with you again soon. Take care. Bye.